I want to take a look at two different problems. One that has an even exponent and one that has an odd exponent. To do these, we're going to break down all the parts of the term into something squared so we can easily take the square root of the entire thing. So if we start with the 64. What's squared? And this is understood to be a squared if there's nothing here. So what squared gives us 64? Well, it's 8 squared. What squared would give us a to the fourth? Well, a squared would give me a to the fourth. There's no way to take anything squared and get b, so I'm going to leave b alone. And we're going to break c apart. I have a c squared, which I could easily take the square root of, and I have 1c left over. So if I take the square root of this whole thing, just taking the square root of the parts that I can actually square root, 8 squared, square root of 8 squared would just give me 8. And since I have a even root, I need the absolute value of the variables. So if I'm taking the square root of a squared squared, it's going to be the absolute value of a squared and the absolute value of c times the square root of everything that's left over. We have a b left and we have a c left. So we have 8 a squared, absolute value of c, square root of bc. Now here we're going to do the same thing. And actually we can just write this with just one absolute value in between. Here we're going to do the same thing. Now we need to figure out a term to the fifth power to give us each of these variables. So what to the fifth power would give us negative 32? Well, negative 2 to the fifth would give us negative 32. Now the f we need to break apart into f to the fifth times f. We have a g to the fifth, so we don't need to change that, and we have an h squared. There's no way to get a fifth root of h squared. So since this is a odd root, we don't need absolute values. So I'm going to move negative 2 to the outsides. The fifth root of negative 2 to the fifth is just negative 2. We have the fifth root of f to the fifth is just f. And we have the fifth root of g to the fifth is just g. Then we have put our fifth root back in there and whatever's left over. So I have f and I have h squared. So this would be my answer. So if we start out with a even root, we have absolute values. If we start out with an odd root, no absolute values.